Hello everyone, I'm back for another one of these videos looking at all the cards that have been previewed from Arkham Horror the Card Game's new 2026 core set. Let's get right into it. For Guardian Week, we started with a number of cool cards, but I actually like to look at all of these in the context of the Investigator printed in the box, and that is Daniela Reyes. We got her deck building at the beginning, O2 Survivor, O5 Guardian, which is kind of new for her. She existed back in Edge of the Earth, and she was a level 0 Guardian only, and then level 1 to 5 Survivor, which was really kind of interesting and cool, and made her, kind of struggle to deck build for many people, but was balanced, I think, in that end. Now, this whole redone version of her puts her back into the O5 Guardian, main Guardian class, which people really wanted for a long time. They really wanted to play a lot of the upgraded Guardian cards that maybe would have done well with her with the Thorns archetype, where she would get attacked and then something good would happen. But we don't have those cards anymore. We're looking at this just in the context of the new core set. So what have they done to Daniela? They've actually changed her ability and stat line quite a bit. So I'm not actually that concerned about, hey, this is what people wanted all along, because really we're getting a different version of her and a new card pool. So instead of the 4 willpower, 1 intellect, we have 3 willpower, 2 intellect, and the 5 combat, 2 agility are the same from before. Her health and sanity has changed. She's got 9 physical and 5 mental. So 9 damage, 9 health and 5 sanity. Her ability is also a little different. After a reaction after an enemy attacks Investigator at your location, fight that enemy. And there's a reminder here that that is using a basic fight action or a fight ability on a card. Essentially, this is the same as getting and using an action. So this has been clarified. I'll talk about this again for Sledgehammer, that basically you can use any fight on your turn. If you need to spend more than one action, you can do that. If it's out of your turn, it's just going to be basically a single action economy here. Elder Sign is +1, deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. This is really good. What's cool to me is that they have now revised these Elder Sign abilities to be always on. We haven't had a +5, if there's, 1 for each clue on your location or something like that. This does something every time you draw it. Of course, there's no enemies that it doesn't do anything, but I think this is a strong Elder Sign for her. Like, this can target an aloof enemy, one that's not engaged with you, engage with someone else. Like, this is really good. We don't need ways right now to force Elder Signs, but in the future, you could definitely build around it. Okay, that's Daniela. I think this is neat. I guess I should say that the reaction ability is different from the old one that didn't have a limit. This one does have a limit once per round, and the old one either dealt 1 damage or did an automatic evade. This is just using a fight ability. So there's a higher upside, in my opinion, that you can actually do multiple points of damage back, but you're subject to a test and only once per round. So there's only so much you can do. I guess it's also worth saying that this does not trigger off of things that were canceled. So you can't cancel an attack and then use this ability. And you can use it if you provoke an attack of opportunity. The old version of her could not. So this is a neat redesign. I actually really like this. So let's take a look at her signature cards. Danielle's Wrench, an upgrade, I suppose, from the old Mechanics Wrench, and her weakness in Harm's Way. So the Wrench, this has an ability to exhaust the wrench, choose an enemy at your location, that enemy engages you and makes an immediate attack. Okay, so then that basically allows you to do a free fight back using her ability on her card. But additionally, we have a fight ability. You get +2 combat for this attack. If this enemy attacked you this round, this attack deals +1 damage. So again, you're using her ability to trigger that bottom ability without taking an action. The exhaust is fine, right? The old wrench did the same sort of thing, just a once per round anyway. I don't think the old one let you engage the enemy, so this is a little bit more powerful. Additionally, the new one doesn't let you take an attack against an enemy that attacked you last round. The old one did, so this one is a little bit more restricted in that sense, but I don't think that ability where you could only use it against an enemy that had attacked you since the end of your last turn was that different. I mean, you could get an enemy to attack you during the last enemy phase, then you could use the wrench. Like, that's pretty cool. I don't think this is super different though. So neat change. I'm looking forward to this. Doesn't have as many good icons as the old one. Now, weakness is totally different. The old weakness was an enemy. This one is a treachery. Put in harm's way into play in your threat area. After you deal damage to an enemy, take 1 damage and place 1 damage on harm's way. If there are 3 or more damage on this card, discard it. If it is still in play at the end of the game, suffer 1 physical trauma. Okay, so you're essentially taking 3 damage to get rid of this. So after you deal damage, and I guess this is for every attack, right? It's not a once per round thing. So you theoretically could get rid of this in just 1 round if you have enough enemies in play. So I'm not quite as concerned about drawing this without enough time, like some of the other weaknesses we've seen that come out too late, and then you say, whoops, I guess I'm taking the trauma. This one, you probably could figure out a way to get rid of it, but what you need is some place to put the damage that you take, the extra damage. And whether that's on some soak or on Daniela, who now is, again, 9 health, kind of up to you and some of your play patterns. I think that's really an engaging, interesting weakness. Not too tough, but it is something you have to watch out for. So it's almost like, the old Mark Harrigan who had 9 health, but didn't really. I think Daniela here is somewhat similar. She's got 9 health, but she needs to take 3 of it, but it could go on her allies, and we'll see one that might be a good target for this weakness a little bit later. So we've seen the wrench. Let's check out some more weapons. This is a really interesting slide here. We're looking at 2 weapons that should look very familiar from the old core. The first, the M1911, is a reskin of the old 45 automatic. The only difference here is the cost and the title, of course, which does matter. I should mention that because of Arkham's rules about limit 2 of a particular card in your deck, you could run 2 of the M1911s and 2 of the old 45 automatics and just increase your weapon density if you are indeed playing in Legacy. It's not a terrible idea. But yeah, we've got a more balanced firearm and then a more balanced melee weapon. So the firearm is cheaper, everything else about it's the same. The machete is a reprint of the old machete, but has been nerfed, which is important. Old machete was really strong. And maybe you would say at level 0, Guardians should get a really strong melee weapon. But the problem is it made a lot of other cards that you were playing, other weapons, even at higher levels, not as good. In fact, if you compared the machete and the old 45 automatic, which costs 4, you're mostly getting the same effect for limited uses on the 45 automatic, and the machete was just like way better. So this one gives you +1 for the attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, you may exhaust machete to do +1 damage for this attack. So instead of being engaged with an enemy that has 6 health and you just cutting away and take 3 attacks and kill it in 1 round, this will only do a maximum of 4 damage if you have 3 actions rather. So it's going to be weaker, but that's the trade-off for this not having bullets. Doesn't have any uses. I will say that at lower player counts, with most of the time you're only going to have 1 enemy engage with you, and they don't have that much health. This isn't that big of a deal. Think about a 2 health enemy, right? You can exhaust machete to deal +1 damage. It's dead. You don't need to fight anymore. If it's a 3 health enemy, then you exhaust and, well, you take 1 more swing, and that was 2 actions under the old machete. It's 2 actions under the new machete. The only time where this gets a little bit worse is going to be 4 health plus enemies. So if you need a boss killer, this is not it. This is going to help, but, maybe even run 2 of these. Like dual wielding machetes is not a bad idea. So I think the weapon is still strong, but while they're nerfing the melee weapon and bumping up a bit the firearm in terms of the cost, I think you can run both and be happy with both and not feel like the machete is outperforming the M1911 too much. I still think it's probably better, but we might see more firearm support later. Let's check out the upgraded weapons. So the Sledgehammer, this is a level 3 card, and it looks pretty familiar. We had a Sledgehammer in the old Chapter 1, it was level 0, and level 4, it was also gold bordered because it was multi-class, Survivor and Guardian. This one's just Guardian, and it's a little bit of a midpoint between the two. So the fight on the top action here is no bonus, +1 damage. So this is a pretty interesting idea because, again, you're taking up 2 hand slots and getting no bonus to hit, which is worse than the M1911, right? But you get to use it forever, so that's fine. If you want to hit a little bit harder and do a little bit more damage, we've got the double action fight at the bottom, +3 combat for the attack. That's really good. If you succeed, you can exhaust it to deal +2 damage. Now, 2 things that are different about this compared to the old ones that we saw. This is going to have the exhaust happen, period, but it happens at a timing point, which allows you to, if you miss, right, you're only dealing 1 damage to an ally. Of course, no damage to an enemy. So you don't have to worry about doing that exhaust until you actually succeed. That's pretty good. That's a pretty friendly wording of this particular weapon. Now, it's not too often that you are going to swing this twice. You need an extra action, but Daniela could use her ability during her turn to essentially save 1 action on this ability. I think it's really good. I think this is going to feel pretty good in play. It does feel overcosted for looking at the whole legacy card pool, but that's par for the course. That's the whole point of them redoing this Chapter 2 environment, making the melee weapons a little bit weaker. Conversely, we have a level 5 firearm, so you could upgrade this from your little mini handgun, but really this takes up 2 slots. So you're thinking about like hand slots. I think the small level 0 weapons are really good if you're running some other card for getting clues, like the compass, I believe it was. There's an old compass. Or for Joe, for thinking about Joe Diamond, who could take the level 0 cards here. Get the fingerprint kit, local map, etc. If you're really trying to do a bunch of damage and that is your role in the team, that's when you start looking at the upgraded weapons. So this Winchester, Model 12, takes up 2 hand slots, 3 ammo, 5 XP, 4 cost. You get +3 combat for the attack. If you succeeded, this deals +1 damage for each point you succeed by, maximum of +4. So a total of 5 points of damage if you indeed succeed by 4. If you fail and would damage another investigator, this attack deals 1 damage for each point you fail by to a maximum of 5 damage. So it's very similar to the old shotgun in the original core set. This one costs a little bit more in terms of XP, and it costs less in terms of resources, but it comes with an extra ammo, which I think makes all the difference. We're not going to see in this set any ammo recharging, but there are ways to get things back from the discard pile, in Survivor anyway, which you could use. I think it was the jumpsuit we saw, which could bring back a weapon from your discard pile and essentially reload all that ammo. Anyway, it's a bit friendlier in terms of dealing the extra damage than a shotgun. I believe the old version of shotgun, just looking at the wording there real quick, yeah, that one dealt 1 damage for each point you succeed by instead of the normal damage. So that did a maximum of 5 damage, just like this one. But if you succeeded by 0, it did nothing, did no damage. This one it certainly does 1 damage if you succeed by 0. And by that measure, if you succeed by 2, right, you are getting extra damage. You're succeeding by 2, you get 3 damage. The old one, you succeed by 2, you get 2 damage. So this is just better in every sense. I feel like it's an upgrade, right? It has a different name, and that's fine. You could run a whole shotgun deck with 4 copies essentially, but it's different enough to me that this is a different card. Okay, moving on to the support for all these weapons. We've got a talent, Endurance. So this is in the Sharp Rhetoric, Level-Headed cycle that we've seen so far from the other 2 classes. This one allows you to spend resources to get +1 combat or +1 agility, +2 if this is attack or evasion. Seems really good, right? This is a straight up upgrade from physical training, which didn't give you that much bang for your buck, this is going to help you hit on things like the shotgun. Are you going to have extra money? Well, Logan Hastings, who I previewed on my channel last week, can help you do that. So nice little combo here. I think endurance is really good anyway, just for getting some evasions off. Now, I'm not seeing exactly who can do that. That's Daniela here only has 2, Joe Diamond has 2, but spend a couple of resources. I suppose you're up 4 on the test. That's pretty good. Again, things are expensive in Guardian, but maybe that's not going to feel as bad. Maybe that won't feel as bad because we have someone like Logan. So with a limited card pool, this feels fine. I think you play this and you're happy to play it. Let's move on. There's 2 more allies in this set, a level 0 bodyguard and a level 2 bodyguard. Level 0 bodyguard was much maligned when it was previewed as part of the initial announcement of the Core 2026 set. I agreed. It's not good. But it doesn't feel quite as bad now that we look at Daniela's ability. She needs something to put that extra damage on, and maybe bodyguard is it. The rate just feels a little not great at level 0. Level 2 version does 2 damage to an enemy at your location if you defeat it, and it's got an extra point of health and sanity, which seems a lot better. Now, I don't know why this guy can't be assigned horror dealt to other investigators at your location. That seems weird, but okay. I guess thematically, he's just only blocking damage coming in. Okay. It's kind of a bad guard dog from the original core set, but actually that level 2 version seems not bad. Dealing 2 damage to an enemy at your location, I mean, that can take a pretty chunky enemy. And as part of Daniela's retaliate type of playstyle, this is actually pretty good. I like it. I don't know if we're going to get charisma in this set, but if it's a choice between bodyguard and Logan, I think Logan stays, right? Logan is a much better, more useful ability. I want to put bodyguard into play. I just don't want to give up my ally slot for him. So that's kind of how I feel about it right now. I hope we get charisma. I think we will, but I hope we get it in the core. There's another way to put damage and horror into things, and that's resilience. This card looks expensive. I think it's fine. No one's thrilled to play a card that just has damage and soak on it. Sorry, damage and horror soak on it, and no ability, no text at all. But it's here. I think it's necessary to have in the deck and just be able to say, I'll play this because things can get hairy. Remember, Daniela only has 5 sanity. If she takes a bunch of horror from, I don't know, some kind of treachery, where does it go? You don't really want to put it on Daniela. Then Logan doesn't have any soak there. Neither does level 0 bodyguard. It's probably going to have to go here. Now, old Daniela had 4 willpower. She was much more of a mythos resilient investigator, all around mythos resilience. I don't think this Daniela is that investigator. She still just only has 3. We haven't seen any way to boost any sort of willpower. There is a skill. I guess I can talk about the skills right now. There's a level 0 guts. Of course, that's a reprint of the old guts. It's got some new art, which I actually really like. And then there's unexpected courage, which is a card I also previewed. It's the old returning 5 neutral core set skills. I don't see why we won't get manual dexterity and overpower, but it's weird that we didn't get overpower alongside the guardian cards. Anyway, let's go back to these. Right tool for the job is our first event that we're looking at, level 0. It's kind of a straight up upgrade from Prepared for the Worst, the old card that starts the top 9 cards for your deck for a weapon. This one gets a tool or weapon. We actually haven't seen any tools in Guardian, but we did see tools in the Secret class, and then there's a tool or 2 in the Survivor class, right? For getting clues. Essentially, that's what we've seen it for. I think the flashlight, the hand crank flashlight, is also a tool. So this is a way for you to help flex. Nice thing here is that it's not going to whiff as often as the old one, right? Even if you're not really finding the thing you want, which is hilarious due to the theming of this card, I think you're actually going to find something and be happy about finding something than it just flat out whiffing. So it's good in the core set. It's not a great card. I guess the old one was a tactic as well. This being an insight is, well, I don't know if it means anything in the new core. In the old set, I think Joe might play it in his hunch deck, but there's no more hunch deck. Moving on to clue stuff in particular, we've got a straight up reprint of Scene of the Crime. There's nothing new here. It's a good card, always was. Glad that they're printing clue stuff in this deck. I mean, for Daniela, she's not going to do basic investigates. It's just not going to happen. But there's enough stuff here where she actually can contribute to a lot of the clue numbers that you need to reach. So the new card is level 0 lesson learned, and this one is fast after an enemy attacks you. Discover one clue at your location. We had an old one of these. It was level 2. A little different. That one discovered 2 clues and only triggered if an enemy dealt damage to you. This one is just an attack altogether. I hope if we get an upgrade lesson learned that one will have this language too. I don't know why the old one had only damage. So it's a good card. It's a replacement for evidence. It makes sense, right? Roland in the original core had evidence kind of mirroring his own ability. Defeat an enemy, get a clue. This one mirrors Danielle's ability. Get attacked, get a clue. So you're progressing the game for the thing that you want to do anyways. So I think this is a nice addition. And I think Daniela, between these cards, look what I found in Survivor, the ability to recur level 0 events in, I think it's Hunter's Instinct is that asset. She's going to do pretty well. I think she's going to do pretty well in solo or just as a flex in general, even though her ability and most of the cards we've seen here are just like chunking through enemies. There's actually pretty good ways of getting clues. Here, this is without taking any tests. Last up, we have 2 cards that are very similar to old ones. One is a straight up reprint, Vicious Blow, but counterattack is a little bit like the old dodge. That one let you cancel an attack. This one does the same thing, but deals a damage to an enemy too. Important to point out here that, as I did before, if you block the attack with counterattack, then you're not going to trigger Danielle's ability. But you're doing the flat out deal 1 damage to the enemy. So it's like her old ability printed on a card, kind of. It's a spirit and tactic. And yeah, I mean, this is good for 1 resource and 1 XP. I think it's a nice thing. Dodge is one of those cards, this ability, I think, is underrated because sometimes you run into a point where an enemy does a lot of damage or horror, a boss, really, right? Doesn't care about elite or non-elite. It's just going to deal the damage back. Of course, the old dodge had an upgrade, level 2, that was, I think, worse than this. It cost 0, but you needed to do a test. And then it did essentially the same thing. So yeah, I think this is a great card. Fits in very well and has some pretty sick art. Vicious Blow over there also has some interesting art. I mean, I like the old one, but this one's fine too. New card frame makes me a little like, oh, I have to get used to what this card looks like, but it's Vicious Blow. It will always be good, and I'm glad to see this return in the core set. I think that's about it. Again, those other skills were previewed, and there's not much to say about them beyond what has already been said. So I'm looking forward to Rogue Week coming out in January, and we talk about all the new Rogue cards. We do know at this point about Trish and her front side. We don't know much more beyond that. And I, as I said at the beginning of this video, would rather talk about that in the context of all the cards that are in Rogue. So here we have everything for Daniela. We've seen Survivor and Guardian. And we have everything for Joe, Seeker, and again, Guardian. But once we get Trish and all the Rogue cards, we'll know everything for her because she will be off-class Seeker. So that'll be much better understanding of her ability and what she can do. That's what I'm all going to say about Trish. I'll reserve further comments until we see everything in Rogue. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of the new Guardian cards. This just feels really good, looking nice, nicely designed Guardian set. We have no stinkers. So good on, I mean, Bodyguard level 0 is a little but everything else feels pretty good. Good on the designers for providing us with all the cards and the entire core set. Looking forward to it. Talk to you guys later.